Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today we're going to talk about a subject that does not get talked about enough, especially among Republicans. It's an important subject. It's about the filibuster and the threat to the filibuster. The filibuster actually has already been eroded somewhat, and there is a threat that it could disappear entirely. This could have good effects or bad effects, depends on which party you belong to and whether your party is in power. First of all, just bear with me while I explain what the filibuster is, just in case there is somebody out there who doesn't know what it is, because with today's educational system and our left-wing woke college campuses, maybe there are people who don't know, especially some of you younger viewers. So the filibuster is derived from the Senate rules. When the Constitution was written, under the Constitution, the House and the Senate set their own rules. In the House, there are so many members, 435 members, that you really can't let everybody talk as much as they want to when there's a debate. So the time for each, well, the way it usually works is somebody is chosen from each party to control the time, say 2 hours of time, and then allocates that time, 1 minute to this representative, 1 minute to that representative. But in the Senate, the rule is different. The rule in the Senate is that when a senator gets up to speak, that senator has the floor. As long as that senator is standing and speaking, he can't be stopped or interrupted. He can speak as long as he wants to. Therefore, sometimes you have some legislation that a party will oppose and they'll be in the minority. The other party will be controlling the Senate, and the minority party will, well, they can't stop it. They would be outvoted because they are the minority at that time in the Senate. But what somebody figured out a long time ago, some senator, is that because a senator, once a senator stands up to speak and speak for as long as desired, just to get up and keep speaking, then another senator, and just keep the debate going so that the vote doesn't occur. That is what a filibuster is. Now I'll just give you a little tidbit of information about the filibuster that people don't really know. It's not really talked about, but there is a way to defeat a filibuster. I don't know why the Republicans have never used it, or for that matter, the Democrats. You can get up and speak for as long as you want, but in any period of what they call legislative day, you can only speak twice, and a person is physically capable of only speaking for a certain amount of time, especially some of these older senators. So let them get up there and speak. They can speak. I'd be surprised if, say, if you have 40 senators who oppose a bill, that they can get up there and that all of them could speak for 24 hours each, but suppose they could. So that's once, and then they can speak again. They'll get a second round and they can speak for 24 hours, but then within 80 days, the matter would end because everybody will have spoken twice, and that is assuming that everybody could speak for 24 hours, which I seriously doubt. I'm surprised that this tactic has never been used, that they just don't say, okay, you want a filibuster, go up there and speak. I suspect it's because, well, there's this gentleman's agreement that has been worked out between the two sides in the Senate, because legislation, when something is being debated, that debate cuts off all other business. The Senate cannot conduct any other business until the debate ends, the vote is taken. So there are matters that the Senate has to take care of aside from whatever is being debated. So one side will just tell the other side, well, we intend to filibuster, and that will just be taken at face value, and nobody will actually have to get up and speak. And well, it has happened on very rare occasions, but usually not. And then the two sides maybe could work out something, and then the people who said they were going to filibuster, they'll withdraw their threat to filibuster, and then the business can move forward. But what happened during the Obama administration is that Obama was appointing a lot of liberal judges, and the Republicans were filibustering a lot of them. Harry Reid, the majority leader of the Democrats at that time, he got fed up with it, and he used a parliamentary maneuver, which I won't go into now, to eliminate the filibuster for federal judges, but he left it in place for Supreme Court justices. And Mcconnell got up and said, okay, you can do this, you can eliminate this part of the filibuster, but you may come to regret it. You probably will, and sooner than you think, which is exactly what happened, because the GOP took over the Senate. This is if I can just give you a little aside here, this is a problem that the Democrats have, that some wise person phrased it this way, that when the Democrats are out of power, they act as if they will never be back in power again, and when they are in power, they act as if they will never be out of power. So they sometimes institute these policies that come back to hurt them, especially when they're in power. They'll institute a policy to allow them to pass some legislation that they want to, but then they are out of power, and the Republicans use that same tactic to impose their own legislation. That's what happened with the Supreme Court justices, because after Reid set the precedent, eliminating the filibuster for lower court justices, for lower court judges, the Republicans, McConnell, they eliminated the filibuster for Supreme Court justices. So now the president, if his party controls the Senate, he can nominate whatever justice he wants, and there's nothing that the minority party can do now to stop it. So in the case of the Republicans, they can appoint, put on the court very conservative justices. The Democrats can't force them to put on somebody more moderate, and vice versa. When the Democrats are in power, now it's going to hurt the Republicans, because now Democrats could, or a Democratic president with a Democratic Senate could nominate a very liberal justice, and the GOP will not be able to stop it. So it does work both ways. The point I'm getting to, though, now that you know what the filibuster is that there still remains the filibuster for legislation. That still remains in place, but we now have two precedents set for eliminating the filibuster. What's going to happen if the Democrats come into power? Would they pick up where Harry Reid and McConnell left off and get rid of the filibuster entirely? In fact, one senator, Elizabeth Warren, and she's not the only one, but a number of Democratic senators have called for eliminating the filibuster, especially if they take over the Senate in November and if Biden wins. Because you can bet with Biden being so captured by the left that you're going to see a lot of very left-wing policies, and there will be a great incentive to eliminate the filibuster to get those through, because you can be sure that the Republicans are going to filibuster some of this legislation, which gets us to this headline, and I'll follow it up with some advice from me to Mitch McConnell. So here's a headline. It's basically picking up on what I've been saying. The filibuster is going. As progressive radicalism sweeps America's street and civil society institutions, one question is whether its agenda can be translated into law. As progressive radicalism sweeps America's streets and civil society institutions, one question is whether its agenda can be translated into law. One obstacle is the Senate filibuster, which constrains partisan majorities by requiring 60 votes for most legislation. But if Democrats take control of the Senate in 2020, expect the rule to be torched as soon as it impedes the Democratic agenda, which is what I've been talking about. The latest indication comes from Delaware Senator Chris Coons, a moderate Democrat, so we're not talking about one of these far-left liberals. We're talking about Senator Coons, a moderate Democrat with a reputation as an institutionalist who in 2017, along with Maine Republican Susan Collins, led an open letter in support of the filibuster. Quote, "We are mindful of the unique role the Senate plays in the legislative process," unquote, they wrote in a letter signed by 61 senators. But that was when Republicans controlled the Senate. Now Mr. Coons tells Politico, quote, "I will not stand idly by for 4 years and watch the Biden administration's initiatives blocked at every turn," unquote. He added, quote, "I am going to try really hard to find a path forward that doesn't require removing what's left of the structural guardrails," meaning the filibuster. "But if there's a Biden administration, it will be inheriting a mess at home and abroad. It requires urgent and effective action," unquote. First, allow me to disagree with the honorable senator, but if Biden wins and the Democrats take the Senate, then they won't be inheriting a mess. They'll be in the first stages of creating a mess. Just my 2 cents, I had to put that in there. But the point is that the Republicans get suckered on this time and time again, working with the Democrats when the Republicans control the Senate. And then when the Democrats control the Senate, they turn the tables on the Republicans. They screw them. And that is what's going to happen, I think, this time. I think the Republicans are making a mistake about protecting the filibuster. They overwhelmingly did before, but now we see a change of heart from Senator Coons here. And remember, he is a moderate. He is not one of these far left senators who definitely, well, or I would say almost definitely in the case of Elizabeth Warren, will kill the filibuster if they get the chance. Now, what does that mean in practical terms? I'll get to my advice in a second, but here's just a short list of what a Democratic senator could do if Republicans were unable to filibuster. Congress could pass statehood for Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, tilting the Senate further left. A simple Senate majority could also change the composition of the federal judiciary, including the Supreme Court. The mere threat of this may already be causing Chief Justice John Roberts to move left. In other words, to put into action, into legislation, what some Democrats, some far-left Democrats have been talking about, which is to add additional seats, additional justices to the Supreme Court in order to create a liberal majority. So right now you have a 9-justice court, but suppose a Democratic Senate adds another 5 seats, and then you have 5 more liberals. And then the Republicans come into power and say they add 10 more seats of Republican justices. Do you see how crazy this could get? And that is the problem that I was talking about before, that the Democrats do not look ahead. They only look at what they need to accomplish in the moment. They don't worry about any future consequences, which brings me now to my advice for Mitch McConnell. If you want to keep the filibuster, then keep the filibuster for now. Keep it for as long as Republicans control the Senate. But if in November Biden wins the presidency and Democrats win control of the Senate, then my advice, I urge you, eliminate the filibuster immediately before that Democratic president takes office and that Democratic majority takes over the Senate. Since they're going to eliminate the filibuster anyway, you can bet your bottom dollar on it, then, or maybe they won't, but you better be careful if you think that they won't. You better be darn sure. But if there's any chance that the filibuster is going to be eliminated, then you should eliminate it immediately while you've still got the majority and a Republican president, and ram through everything as fast as you can. You can start with repealing Obamacare. You don't have to worry about a filibuster anymore. Just put through everything that you can, eliminate the filibuster, and work around the clock if you have to. Forget vacations, get as much done as you can before the Democrats take over, and then they'll probably reverse or try to reverse a lot of what you do, but then you could reverse when Republicans once again take over the Senate, as will happen sooner or later. That's my advice. Don't have to take it, but you'll be better off if you do. And all of you will be better off if you take my advice to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? Comment section below the video. You can also ask questions, suggest future topics. I love getting subscribers, so great if you could subscribe. But most of all, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.